Unfortunately, he was using his tilt trailer and it wasn't tilting, so we had to drop it down on some blocks when he was backing up, and that happened. I feel so bad for this guy. It's like when it rains, it pours, one thing after another. He actually just told me to rip it off. That's just besides the point. The reason why he's dropping it off is because he suspects that his turbo is bad because there's engine oil coming out of the exhaust that you guys saw there. And obviously it's running really, really rough. So I'm gonna get it in the garage. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the intake. I have a strange suspicion that it's the turbo because oil getting past the seals into the exhaust, it's very dangerous to drive it like that too. I'd hate to see a runaway. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this in the garage right now. We're gonna go ahead and remove the mouthpiece. I'm dying to move that thing. And I wanna check the compressor wheel. Oh, by the way, this is a 2015 Chevrolet Silverado Duramax. This is a sweet truck, by the way. It's the SS version. Well, this guy is a contractor. He is not a mechanic. That's why he's dropping it off. The truck has 170,000 original miles as well as a stock CP4 injection pump, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And when talking about having the cleanest fuel possible, head over to my website, truckmasterdiesel.com. I sell diesel lift pumps, but that would be your very first modification that you should ever do to any diesel, and that would be a lift pump. And those of you guys that got entered in for the lift pump giveaway, I'd like to send a special shout out to the winner. His name is Brent. Big shout out to you, man, and congratulations. I'm gonna remove all this stuff and just check out the compressor wheel and see what kind of shaft play we have going on. But if you look closely, there's engine oil all over this engine bay, everywhere. Oh, that clamp was really loose, by the way. All right, bear with me, guys. This is kind of difficult, but I can barely get my hand in there. You can tell the turbo wheel is a little chewed up, but I don't think that's going to cause any issues. Doesn't appear to be smacking against the compressor housing. There's just a little bit of side-to-side play, but that's okay. What you're really feeling for is the in and out play. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, this turbo is healthy. But if there was a blown seal, then there would be some play in this turbo wheel because it does sit on oil. It rides on oil. So I don't know, man. Other than it being chewed up a little bit, I don't see anything wrong with that turbo. And just to show you guys how much oil is coming out of this exhaust, look at this. It's just like leaking right out of the exhaust pipe. Look at that. That's bad. That is bad. So as you guys can tell, the engine oil is currently low because it's leaking out of the exhaust. I went ahead and pulled it outside. I have the truck on, but off. So I have it in the accessory position. And I'm gonna go ahead and just check really quickly for trouble codes. I should have done that in the beginning, but I got excited and I just wanted to pull that intake and see what it looked like. But let's see what we got here. And that was really quick. All right, so we have a P0306, which is the cylinder 6 misfire. And this one right here might be an issue. And with showing the excessive blow-by, more than likely it's not a turbo. I have a huge suspicion that blow-by is getting past the piston rings and or the piston is cracked. That may be one. So before you go out and start spending tons of money on parts, you want to make sure you check this stuff before you do that, because this guy already did. So I'll talk to you guys about that as well. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So let's go ahead and start it right now. Yeah, it sounds terrible. Man, this thing is running rough, guys. I mean, this whole truck is shaking. It's crazy. I guess this is what it's like when you have a blown engine. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it right now. Okay, so balance rates. And what I'm doing is I'm monitoring all of the cylinders. And right here, ideally, you want to see zeros, ones. Check this out. Cylinder 5 is at an 8. Cylinder 6 is at a 13. Almost a 14. This is insane. Basically what's going on is it's adding to or taking away to each cylinder how much fuel it needs to give it. And I know these look crazy right now, but it's all pointing to cylinder 6 at this point. All right, fuel rail pressure, desired and actual. They look dead on, which is good. I mean, the fuel system doesn't look terrible, other than that one injector, but it has a lot to do with the piston rings. Very well could be a cracked piston, but the only way to know is to pull the head, really, or pull the injector and put a scope in there and actually look at it. I do want to check vane position. So desired is calling for 5%. Right now it's at 5.25, whatever. It's where it needs to be. So vane position is looking good there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this in the garage right now. I'm doing more damage than I am doing good as this truck is running. So I'm gonna just assess what's going on right now for you guys and wrap this up. But just that little bit that I looked at on this Duramax, we're gonna go ahead and chalk it up to a bad engine. And the only reason why I'm saying that, or should I say a bad cylinder, because that's what we noticed there. The only way to know at this point, since it's mechanical and not electrical, is to pull the head. So I'm gonna do that. I guess the real big idea here was that I was just gonna pull the cab and I was gonna do a turbo install for the guy. That's all I was gonna do. As a matter of fact, he already ordered it. He ordered an RDS Pro stock charger from Ryan's Diesel Service. And all I would have to do is simply do a R&R, remove and replace. That was the idea. I did do a YouTube video about, I think 2 years ago. It did really well on YouTube about what diesel blow-by is. So I will link that in the description below if you guys want to watch that. But I do want to touch on what diesel blow-by is. All that excessive pressure that's coming out of your oil fill cap that you guys saw there. I think it's important that if you do have one of these trucks, even if it's not a Duramax, it could be any sort of diesel, remove that fill cap, take the cap, flip it upside down, and if it sits there and it doesn't move, or it may move a little bit, but it doesn't blow off, then more than likely you're doing pretty good. And when talking about diesel blow-by, it occurs when a mixture of air and fuel or combustion gases leak past the engine's piston rings, down to the cylinder walls, and into the crankcase. And while some blow-by is normal, too much can indicate a more serious issue that will negatively impact engine performance. But like gas engines, diesel engines generate power through 4 strokes. The process takes place in the engine combustion chamber. And some of you guys already know this, but the intake stroke, compression stroke, the power stroke, and then of course the exhaust stroke. But in diesel engines, blow-by occurs basically during the compression or power stroke when the pressure is maximized. So worn piston rings or cylinders just can't contain the combustion pressure within the chamber, allowing the air-to-fuel mixture or gases to sneak into the crankcase and increase more pressure there. But what would actually cause diesel blow-by? It's very simple. Higher mileage vehicles normally. And when you don't keep up with your routine maintenance, for example, engine oil changes, fuel filter changes, just the normal stuff, your engine's definitely going to be prone to blow-by. Piston rings sit in the ring grooves on the piston heads, and their primary function is to create an airtight seal between the piston and the cylinder walls so the fuel doesn't escape through the combustion chamber. But a lack of lubrication and overheating of the engine, contaminants like dirt and debris, and just like I talked about, improper maintenance can wear down the rings and jeopardize their seals. It causes the carbon buildup on essential engine components. For instance, the carbon can build up or cause piston rings to stick in the cylinder walls, preventing them from seating. But when you're experiencing these escape gases coming from the cylinder walls, you're going to have loss of power. And of course, you're going to have increased oil consumption. So you're going to notice that your engine oil will eventually start to get lower and lower. And with it running so poor, you're going to have decreased fuel efficiency as well. And only because blow-by, which means that the fuel from the combustion chamber is sneaking past the piston rings, instead of helping drive the pistons down to power the engine, this means that your engine must work harder to deliver the same output. So when your engine works harder, it needs more fuel. And you guys saw that misfire code, obviously. We're indicating cylinder 6. And to my surprise, another engine code popped up, which is P0278. And if you look up the definition of that, it's when the engine control module PCM detects that cylinder 6 is not sufficiently contributing to keeping the engine running properly. So I'm kind of like laying out orientation. So if this is a diesel engine, as it's sitting like that, you got cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we are at cylinder 6, which is the driver's side, which is the second cylinder away from the firewall, which is like right here somewhere. So with all of that being said, man, this is a long-winded video, I'm sorry. I'm hoping this will help you guys though, just in case you run into this issue. It's really good to get this input out there before it happens to you and you get took, because it very well could be a turbo. Well, obviously not that issue, but make sure you pull that oil fill cap and make sure that it's not spewing out excessive blow-by like you guys saw there. But it also could very well be a turbo. And that's if it's like pure engine oil. And what I mean by that is like you take your finger, you rub it together, and just feel the lubricity, you know. If it's kind of like a wet sort of watery oil, then more than likely you're getting coolant in your engine oil, or it could just be coolant. I mean, who knows? It's very common for an engine, if it has a cracked head or maybe The head gasket was lifted. You have a filled head gasket. You're gonna see oils come out of that exhaust pipe of some sort. You just gotta identify what it is. But when talking about a turbo, like I mentioned this before, the engine oil getting past the turbo seal, and then of course you wanna go ahead and grab that compressor wheel like I did and kind of move it around. Just check for play. In some cases you could just pull the intake off and visually see that the compressor wheel is completely exploded, and that's your cause right there. The center section is just blown out on that turbo. I'm just going to call it right now. This engine's got to get removed. It's a bad engine, or should I say a bad cylinder. Either it's a cracked piston or he lost the seal. Bad piston rings. That's what I think is going on. If it's coolant, you might have a cracked head. If it's fuel, you might have a damaged cylinder or a bad injector. But if it's oil, like the case that I'm having right now, it could be several causes, including piston rings like we talked about. Also cylinder damage. Another thing that it could be is worn exhaust or intake valve guides, which I know I didn't really hit on too much on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut the hood right now, and we'll back it out and we'll load it on the trailer. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I just talked to the owner about this truck and we have some ideas. So I want you guys to hear me out. This is actually kind of exciting. So you guys just saw I took it outside, but before I do anything, we're gonna be taking a nice long road trip. I'll explain that to you guys what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do a quick engine oil change. There we go. And also, if you guys do an oil change, these things are awesome, by the way, to remove an oil filter. If you can identify this tool, definitely buy one. If you have a diesel and you have a huge engine oil filter, these work for like every single one of them, and fuel filters, believe it or not. So this is real time. I know I massively edited this clip, but this is 7 minutes of me draining the oil, doing the engine oil filter, and we're good to go. All you gotta do is just put the oil in it, check the oil, and we're gonna hook up to the gooseneck. This is probably going to be a smoke show trying to get this thing on the trailer, but enjoy. That doesn't look normal. That does not look normal. So there she sits, loaded, ready to head to Indiana. And the reason why I say that is because I contacted the guy, told him what was going on. He's not happy. We have a few options. Either we can remove the piston that's bad and put another piston in there. You could do that. I mean, that's sort of the cheaper route, and who knows, we pull the piston and the cross hashing's all messed up in the cylinder bores, or the engine is actually junk. Oh man, I should put a drain pan underneath there. It's already leaking. But a lot of guys do that. They'll just switch out the pistons and the injector on that cylinder. But yeah, that's kind of a shortcut. It's a cheap and inexpensive way of doing this, but let's be real here. This is a really nice truck. I think if we do an engine swap, you know, a long block already studded, with a CP3 conversion on this truck, this will be a solid runner. Not only that, it comes with a warranty. So I don't do that in my garage. So I talked to the guy and I said, look, it's not a turbo, but the good news though is the compressor wheel's a little eaten up. So it's probably a good idea that we have that turbo coming from Ryan's Diesel Service. So when he gets the long block, we could just get all the parts situated and slammed on there. But here's the exciting part. So the guy agreed to doing the entire engine swap, long block, all that stuff. It's gonna be a lot of money, but at the same time, would you rather do all the work there, bulletproof it if you will, stud it, do the CP3 conversion, and not to mention the price of trucks these days? You're looking at like what, help me out here, guys. What, $23,000 to $25,000, $29,000 for a truck like this with 170K? And of course, that's if it's in good condition or not. So, I mean, you're kind of rolling the dice. He's got a nice truck. He decided to go ahead and just pony up the dough and do the entire engine swap. So I'm going to charge the guy in fuel and labor to bring it all the way down to Indiana, in Newcastle to be exact, the Dirty Diamond Diesel shop there, the repair shop. And I'm going to film the process of him pulling the cab. We're going to pull the cab in the next video. You got to stay tuned. This is my guess, and I want you guys to let me know in the comments. Leave a guess. What could it be? Because right now it's mechanical. We don't know until we pull that head. My guess is either it's a cracked piston or it's piston rings. I mean, it could be something completely different, but we won't know until we pull that head. And the only way we're going to pull the head on the driver's side is to pull the cab. So we're going to do that in the next video, Lord willing. Now, if you guys found this information valuable or useful or helpful, definitely do me a favor and hit the like button for me. That'd be so helpful for the channel. And of course, on your way out, definitely hit up the truckmasterdiesel.com website. We're revamping the website completely. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have Banks products, PPE products, AirDog stuff, a lot of stuff for the Duramax, Powerstroke, Cummins realm. But all that stuff goes right back into the channel and supports us, and I really appreciate you guys. But that is all the time that I have for today. I thank God every single day that I can make YouTube videos and share the knowledge with you guys as always. But we'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.